Have you ever wondered why unique flowers like orchids look the way they do? Orchid flowers are famous for their structure variations, such as fused flower parts, specialized petals, irregular shape, and vibrant color. Let's not forget that the plant itself is pretty amazing too. Orchids can be discovered in the canopies of tropical trees, using specialized roots to absorb water from the air itself.
So, how exactly do flowering plants, like the orchid, achieve such outstanding qualities? The answer lies within a phenomenon called evolution. In 2011, Bidlack and Jansky defined evolution as the accumulation of genetic changes in populations of living organisms through many generations. In this presentation, you will learn about the evolution of flowering plants from primitive plant species, the evolution of primitive flowers to advanced flowers, and the evolutionary origins, functions, and purposes of advanced plant parts.
In botany, there are two main theories regarding the origin of angiosperms, which is the name of flowering plants that produce seeds enclosed in an ovary. The traditional theory originally stated that flowering plants like grasses, lilies, and willows evolved from cone-bearing plants like spruce and pine. This ideology was proposed by German botanist Adolf Engler. This speculation is now considered outdated and has been more or less disregarded by modern botanists. Sorry, Engler.
A contemporary and more widely accepted theory speculates that flowering plants evolved from spore-producing plants like mosses and ferns. In particular, the theory mentions ancient plants called progymnosperms. These archaic plants resembled trees with fern-like foliage that reproduce by spores. The progymnosperms have been highly regarded as the common ancestor of seed plants. These plants were more advanced than ferns due to producing more genetically diverse spores, a characteristic that is believed to have been a crucial component in developing seeds. This intermediary ancestral plant provided an evolutionary step for future plants to develop advanced features like seeds and flowers.
The first flowers emerged into existence 140 million years ago in the early Cretaceous. Botanists believe that flowers evolved from a leaf-like structure bearing premature seeds along its margin, or edge. This edge, called a carpel, would then roll inward and fuse together, creating a very primitive prototype flower. Petals and other flower structures are believed to have been developed by plants as a strategy to expand the pollination process by evolving insects, which are attracted to the colorful appendages.
The magnolia is an archetypal, primitive flower originating in Southeast Asia and dates back to late Cretaceous. Primitive flowers like the magnolia had numerous arranged flower parts, creating a dense center to ensure wayward insects were furbished with pollen, which increased the likelihood of reproduction when the insect visited another flower. Ancestral flowers were typically small and had white or dull-colored petals.
Wait, didn't you say insects were attracted to color? Wouldn't white petals be unattractive to insects?
Good question. The answer is yes. And no. It depends on the insect species. Pollinators, such as butterflies and bees, are attracted to bright yellow and blue, colors that primitive flowers did not have. However, magnolias and other primitive flowers predated bees and butterflies, so flower color was practically non-existent at that time. In the Cretaceous, the common pollinators were beetles. These hard-shelled creatures had poor vision and could not distinguish color easily, which was perfect for primitive flowers, which, as previously mentioned, were mainly white.
In addition to lackluster colors, primitive flowers were radially symmetrical, like a circle, had superior ovaries that sat parallel with the petals, and were perfect, meaning the flower had both male and female parts.
In comparison, advanced flowers began to exhibit modified features from their predecessors as generations of plants adapted to the environment over time. Advanced flowers became much larger in size, producing fewer flower parts and developing bilateral symmetry, meaning if you were to cut the flower in half, it would be divided into two halves that are mirror images of each other. Evolved flowers also had inferior ovaries that sat beneath the flower petals, offering greater protection for the seed. Lastly, the involvement of pollinators encouraged plants to create imperfect flowers, meaning the flower only had male or female parts, yet never both. You are now familiar with the differences between primitive flowers and advanced flowers, including number of flower parts, symmetry, color, and the presence of male and or female parts. The phenomenon of evolution has developed diverse and unique advancements, and not just flowers, yet their leaves and stems as well.
Plants haven't always been synonymous with leaves. Ancient plant species were generally leafless or had thin, feathery protrusions from their stems. It's theorized that ancient plants didn't need leaves to take in sunlight due to the plumes of volcanic ash suspended in the atmosphere during that era. Approximately 390 million years ago, the volcanic ash dissipated, and sunlight penetrated through, prompting those insignificant protrusions to evolve into leaves in order to photosynthesize, a chemical process that allows plants to manufacture their own food using water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight.
By adapting to their immediate local environment, leaves have been modified or advanced into specialized forms that exhibit special functions. For example, the whimsical curly tendrils found on vines are actually modified leaves. Tendrils have evolved to aid climbing vines and ascending vertical structures, like trees or buildings, either by twining around branches or adhering to walls with specialized discs. Believe it or not, the prickly spines on a cactus are also modified leaves. Spines behave as a defense mechanism, protecting the cactus from thirsty animals. Spines also have a small surface area, which translates as less water lost from the plant in a desert. This type of feature is critical for survival.
Like leaves, stems can adapt to their environment and evolve into advanced forms. Stolons, also called runners, are modified stems that function as an extension of the plant to aid in reproduction. Flowering plants like strawberries create stolons that run along the ground, up to a meter in length, which grow new buds, called adventitious roots, to absorb water and nutrients. A new plant eventually arises from the stolon, which is basically a clone of the parent plant. Now, there are definitely more examples of modified plant organs than just these three. In fact, there are dozens of advanced plant parts in the world, and that number increases with every passing generation as the chronicles of evolution carry on.
You are now aware of the evolutionary story of plants and their origins. From the age of the dinosaurs to age of technology, you have learned the various theories regarding the origins of modern plant species and their evolutionary paths. The process of evolution has transformed simple primitive plants with small white and radially symmetrical flowers into complex organisms with large bilateral flowers, fewer floral parts, and vibrant colors. Aside from flowers, other plant organs like leaves and stems have also gradually evolved to survive in their immediate local environment.
Evolution is a slow process, yet it is the key to understanding how and why plants have changed so drastically over millions of years. Don't worry, the world is still young. There are limitless opportunities to learn about evolution and its mechanisms in the plant kingdom. Perhaps one day, you will be a great botanist with the curiosity and unyielding passion to discover new plant features and how they came to be.